Hello, everyone, and thank you all for joining this stream. Despite I'm being late for whole half an hour, 29 minutes. My apologies for that, dear friends. You would not believe, but right before I had to start the stream, minute before stream started, notebook just turned off. It refused to work, right? And I had to set up everything like once, twice, three times to figure it out. Wow, that was quite something. First time, by the way, this kind of stuff had happened, and still have no idea what was wrong with the node. Hopefully, sound is good, video is good, and internet speed will allow me to um, do this live stream. Once again, thank you for staying on a stream, dear friends, despite me being later. Hello, everyone, once again, and of course, many thanks to all the members of our community who will join later on or will watch this stream afterwards, today, tomorrow. I appreciate attention, and as always, first goes a news segment, and there is a lot to unpack, dear friends. Really, some major developments happening, and then I will join community chatter. I'm happy that members of our community are exchanging opinions in a real time, and well, I will join you. But first, of course, a news segment, and without further delay, dear friends, let's start with the news. And first of all, of course, I'm going to start with the breaking news for this moment, which is that a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake strike Russia's Kamchatka coast, not that far away from a coastline itself. According to reports that I see, this is the biggest earthquake ever recorded in this area, and there is a tsunami warnings all over the Pacifics now, in Japan, in US, elsewhere. And so, if by chance you are living on the coastal line in Pacifics, please take higher ground just in case. RT reported, everybody is reporting about it, of course, and according to RT, evacuation is already in force in Russia's coastal line there on Kamchatka. US and Japan also are preparing for the impact of tsunami, which is going to happen. The only question is how high tides would be. Hopefully, there will be no casualties as a result of this tsunami. Based on reports that I see, several people were injured in Russia's Kamchatka region as a result of this massive earthquake, and Kamchatka's coastline already experienced some tsunami. You can see on your screen, dear friends, this picture from RT when a tsunami wave reached one of the factories there. And when it comes to this development, dear friends, I mean, I can give you also this video. This is Kamchatka, by the way. Russian doctors conducting surgery, and look, no one is going anywhere. They are right next to a patient, and they still there. They finished the operation, surgery, and according to reports, patient is doing okay. And local governor, by the way, while seeing this video on internet, made the right decision, understandably so, that these doctors will receive not just thank and gratitude from locals and the government, but also some awards, I guess, because I mean, well done, by the way, well done. They did their job professionally. Great, what a great people. And also, as I said, there is a tsunami warning. This is Hawaii, by the way, and there are people are evacuating. You can see after jumps. And yet again, if you are living on the coastal line in Japan, in Hawaii, in US mainland coastline, recommend, of course, to find higher ground and move away from the coast, just in case, just in case. Maybe waves would not be too high, but nevertheless, this is tsunami, and no one should mess around their nature, by the way, and nature's force. Obviously, during the day, we will receive some more information, and as information becomes available, I will share this latest reports on my Telegram and Twitter X page, and also during the next update. That's being said, let's continue with some more news now. And, special military operation, of course. RIA Novosti is reporting that, based on Russian Defense Ministry's latest update, that Russian armed forces liberated Novoukrayinka in a DPR and Temirovka in Zaporozhye region. Russian forces continue to improve their positions literally on daily basis. More and more settlements are being liberated. And I remind you, dear friends, that Russian troops lately significantly increase their military operations in Zaporozhye region, and rumors once again start circulating that maybe Russia plans to conduct some sectoral scale offensive in Zaporozhye region. We just don't know. Just a few people in general staff and the Russian president that definitely know what is going to happen and when and in which direction. But nevertheless, Russian troops are significantly active in Zaporozhye region. In DPR, Russian offensive is constant. Russian troops improving positions on regular basis. LPR is fully liberated, by the way. I reported about it. Maybe some DRGs of Kiev regime will try to do some sabotage, but all the settlements in LPR are under Russian control. Russian troops improving positions in the Toretsk, Chisovyar directions, and in Kupiansk area, by the way, according to reports. Kupiansk, one might argue, even is partially now encircled or in operational encirclement. Russian troops are controlling. There is under all the roads that connect Kupiansk to the rest of the territory that's still temporarily controlled by Kiev regime are under Russian fire control. Also, interesting news that settlement of, as I already said, the Temirovka in the Zaporozhye region was liberated by Russian forces. RIA Novosti reports that Russian troops strike Ukrainian armed forces supply hubs in Pavlograd. Pavlograd is a main logistical hub at this point for Kiev regime's armed forces, and according to reports, there was a significant damage dealt to logistical infrastructure of the Kiev regime there. Also, TASS news agency is reporting that Russian armed forces struck yet another training ground of the Kiev regime's forces in the Chernigov region. This is how many days now in a row we are receiving reports about Russian long-range strikes, precise strikes on training grounds or points of concentration of Kiev regime's forces in the Chernigov region. Let me show you a video of this particular strike, dear friends, for example, and I have an opinion on this matter, what might is going on. This is the video. Objective control, of course, was filming this area. And then allegedly two Iskander M missiles, one with a cluster warhead, another with the conventional warhead, struck this territory, and allegedly Kiev regime's forces suffered up to 200 casualties as a result of this this strike. That's a cluster warhead is going off, and then another missile struck with the conventional warhead, or maybe this was a detonation of some munition on the ground. You just don't we just don't know, right? But nevertheless, this is not the first time, as I already said, that Russian armed forces conducting these long-range precise strikes on the military concentration of Kiev regime's forces in the Chernigov region. And why one might argue that, maybe rumors that NATO had prepared yet another incursion operation or yet another suicidal operation for Kiev regime's forces is true. And in upcoming days, once, let's say, Trump's ultimatum will expire, NATO will order Kiev regime to launch offensive, potentially in Bryansk direction from Chernigov region. Whatever the case, Russian troops are basically pounding enemy formations in all directions, and including in the Chernigov region. Let's continue with more news, and we have this report from Vzгляд newspaper that Ukrainian airborne forces flee towards Odessa after failure on Tendrovka Spit. So after an unsuccessful attempt to land on the Tendrovka Spit in the Kherson region, Ukrainian landing force on 4 boats was forced to retreat towards Odessa. Regional governor Vladimir Saldo reported this had happened on 28th of July, and according to reports, Kiev regime's forces were spotted while they were still moving towards this spit on the boats, and once they received fire from Russian side and significant casualties, they didn't dare to continue, turn around and run away as fast as they can. Not the first and I guess not the last attempt of Kiev regime to conduct such a operation in Tindrovka Spit direction. But yet again, every time these operations are suicidal, every time they do something like that, they are losing manpower, they are losing military equipment. It's a pure suicide, but nevertheless, Kiev regime sends its military personnel time after time to repeat their same, because Zelensky and his criminal associates just simply don't care how many people will die. Also, very important news, dear friends, that yesterday, Belarusian Defense Ministry announced that their drone was shut down by electronic warfare system over Minsk, capital of Belarus, and later on, the investigative committee of Belarus concluded that the drone that was shut down was equipped with their TNT. It was a military drone, and I saw some fragments, by the way, photos of the fragments of this drone, and on some of the fragments you can see writing in Ukrainian, and therefore most likely Kiev regime was involved in this terrorist attack on Minsk. I think Lukashenko will be very upset, by the way, by this development, very upset, and who knows, he might actually take some steps in terms of retaliation, because I believe this is not the first time when drones cross the border from Kiev-controlled territory towards Belarus, but this is first time when drone was Ukrainian attack drone was shut down over the Minsk. And this is a big development, by the way. You never know who was a planned target of Kiev regime. Maybe some official, maybe some enterprise. You just never know. And I don't think Minsk can tolerate such a terrorist activity of the Kiev regime. Also important news that Kiev regime, basically Zelensky signed a law expanding mobilization to a man over 60 years. As Ukraine's war effort strains, existing mobilization rules already require men aged 25 to 60 to serve, and now even over their 60 years. This information definitely gives you a good understanding what is going on Kiev-controlled territory in terms of manpower. I mean, they're going to mobilize people over 60, by the way. I mean, this is sickening, right? This is just sickening. In addition, men aged 18 to 24, not yet being forcefully mobilized in massive scale at least, but can sign separate contracts and serve and die for geopolitical agenda of the West if they want to. And allegedly, several hundred younger generation people on Kiev-controlled territory actually sign up for these contracts. Many of them died, and a number of them being captured. And I did share, at least on several occasions, videos of these basically teenagers when they end up being POW, and it's heartbreaking, by the way. Maybe these people, I don't know, are in such a difficult situation that they thought thought they will make some money without risking life or something. I don't know what is wrong with them, right? But I have shared there, and members of our Telegram community probably have seen those videos when these POWs are shaking and in such a stress and begging not to kill them, and when Russian militaries are telling why we're gonna kill you or beat you up. I mean, just chill there now. For you, war is over, right? It's a tragedy, by the way. It's definitely a tragedy of the Russian world that these criminal elements that are in charge of the collective West did manage to provoke this civil war. TASS news agency is also reporting that Ukrainian armed forces change a prisoner's status to a missing in action to reduce their payments. Earlier, there was reports, dear friends, that Kyiv regime was designating military personnel, killed military personnel, bodies of whom was transferred by Russian side to Kyiv regime, and we are talking about more than 7,000 bodies, right, of the killed military personnel of AFU, and there was a report that Kyiv regime is designating those militaries as deserters so that they would not pay compensation to their families. And now this report is coming in that Kyiv regime is designating prisoners of the war, POWs, as a missing in action, and therefore, they want to yet again cut on fundings or compensations for the families of this military personnel. Clearly a demonstration what kind of elements Zelensky and his criminal associates are. And when I say they did not care about casualties, I actually mean that, and I think vast majority of our community will agree with me. They will sacrifice literally everybody, as their Western masters will. They will sacrifice literally everybody except themselves and their family members. That's how it is, and sooner society in Kyiv-controlled territory wake up and began fighting for their survival against this criminal regime, terrorist regime, the better. They will have better chances to actually survive, right? And before I continue, dear friends, let me notice, if I may, that this media project is completely subscriber funded, independent, and you can tell this, by the way. I mean, for God's sake, man, due to this freaking equipment, I'm experiencing some difficulties constantly. Maybe one day I will have a sponsor or something, and I will do better in terms of technical stuff. But whatever the case, if you like my work, if you want to support dear friends, if you want to see possible further development of this project, you can support my work through several means, with donations through PayPal or Boosty platforms. Patreon, you can subscribe to my Patreon page, and unfortunately, our community on Patreon is not growing, and it's also heartbreaking. Let's be real here. Even though I have some extra content on regular basis on Patreon, on my Patreon page and Boosty page, in case you will consider, you can choose your level of monthly support there, from $5 to $10, $20, $50, $100. I don't really have any $100 subscriber or even $50 subscriber, I believe. But anyways, right. So yes, there is a Patreon and Boosty pages that you can subscribe through. There is a crypto option also. And during the live streams, you can use Rumble platform to support super chat feature there, or Rant as it's called, and you can become a premium subscriber on my Rumble channel. For this moment, we only have 5 premium subscribers. Hopefully, our community will grow there too. So yes, all the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment, and once the stream will end, I will also publish I will publish pinned comment, by the way. Sorry, I'm a bit chaotic because of that stressful 30 minutes when I was trying to figure it out what the hell was wrong with this notebook, by the way. But hopefully there are gonna be no technical issues during the stream. So yes, all the links, all the addresses on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment in case you you want to support her. And let's continue now with more news. And for example, RIA Novosti is reporting, and many of you, of course, are familiar with this information, that Trump specified his ultimatum, and he is giving Russia now exactly 10 days to back down, to capitulate, to agree whatever demands Trump, collective West, globalists, neocons, and the rest of the garbage has, right, towards Russia. Let me give you a short sound bite of Trump's statement in this regard.
You mentioned that you would change the Russia deadline to 10 to 12 days. Has that started yet, or when can we, see the official statement that is the new deadline?
I'll tell you what, I'll give it to you now. Do you want a big scoop?
Yes, please.
Everybody else, close your ears, okay? You ready?
I'm ready.
10 days from today.
Got it.
Okay?
Got it.
Good.
Have you communicated?
We have a scoop.
Thank you.
And then, we're going to put on tariffs and stuff, and I don't know if it's going to affect Russia, because he wants to obviously probably keep the war going, but we're going to put on tariffs and the various things that you put on. It may or may not affect them, but it could.
Are you working with any of the families?
So yes, he specified his threat 10 days, and by the way, he often talks about tariffs and sanctions, secondary tariffs, and so on in regards to this ultimatum. But I think this is a deception, part of deception operation that Trump is engaged in, and he already proved, by the way, that he is often engaged in a deception operation. He is not shying away, even though, at least formally being the president of US, to participate in such a deception. We should, never forget that Trump was engaged in deception operation while negotiating with Iran, right? And deception was on behalf of Israel. They were trying to cut off guard Iran, while knew perfectly well that at certain point a strike is going to happen on Islamic Republic, right? So therefore, I think this talk from Trump about tariff sanctions is a pure deception, because no way they're going to impose 100% tariffs as Trump threatened, or 500% tariffs as Lindsey Graham and Blumenthal, the senators in US, and others are threatening with their bill on trade partners of Russia. We here in Russia don't really care about sanctions on Russia, but Trump now is kind of trying to blackmail Russian allies, isn't it? China, India, Brazil, and many others, to cut ties with Russia, to stop doing business with Russia. Otherwise, well, we will impose some 100% tariffs, which is yet again deception operation, because I don't think US is in a position to impose 100% tariffs either on China or on India or on Brazil, by the way, or on itself, because US also buys energy sources from Russia, enriched uranium, for example. And I don't think US plans to, or Trump's administration plans to impose sanctions on Hungary, by the way, or Slovakia, or Turkey, or France, or Spain, or Netherlands, and many other countries in Europe that also buy Russian energy, right? So therefore, this is bluff, right? This talk about sanctions and tariffs is just a deception. They might impose so I saw some nasty comment from some creature there, and I had to delete it. A despicable individual. Nevertheless, so this is a pure bluff on part of this scum of humanity that Trump is, right? But what I'm afraid of is that they're gonna escalate with Russia militarily. That's what their true goal is. Once this 10-day ultimatum will expire, I think and maybe even before that, I think there is increasingly high risk that US, UK, France, Germany, other countries will use whatever assets they have inside Russia to conduct large-scale sabotage operations. Of course, they will conduct cyber attacks on Russian Federation, big time, and process is already underway. And Russian Aeroflot, by the way, for example, experienced a massive cyber attack that was yesterday or day before yesterday. Some other companies too. So process is already happening, right? So I think US and other NATO countries will try to sabotage life of Russian society inside the country big time. They will obviously launch massive long-range strikes deep into Russian territory with missiles and drones, hundreds, potentially thousands of drones, and tens or maybe even hundreds of missiles. They're going to escalate big time. And I think Russia will respond. Moscow will have no option but to respond very harshly. And everybody in the West should keep in mind that it was not Russia that started this, right? Because we will have no option but to retaliate, and we will retaliate. No doubts about that, right? If US and UK and if NATO will conduct cyber attacks on Russia, and they already are doing this, well, I guess Russian hackers will will do the same, right? And will attack countries that will be involved in these cyber attacks. If US launches, US, UK, France, or Germany, they will launch long-range drone and missile strikes deep into Russian territory. Maybe not directly. They're not going to do it openly, let's say. Not openly. They will maintain plausible deniability that it's a Kiev regime, but we all know it's a Kiev regime cannot launch these long-range strikes without direct involvement of the NATO, right? So if we see long-range strikes from NATO, I guess Russia will retaliate. This time Russia will retaliate, by the way. I think so. This time Russia will retaliate. Not just on Kiev-controlled territory, but on military facilities, military assets of their countries, NATO countries that will be involved directly in these attacks on Russia. That's my informed guess, let's say this way, that Russia this time will retaliate and retaliate hard, right? And whatever NATO gonna do, Russia will respond in kind. So everybody should get ready, by the way, for a tremendous scale of escalation that NATO is preparing and provoking right now, right? And everyone should keep in mind. That it was NATO, it was collective Western ruling class, these criminal elements that are in charge of the West that did this. Not Russia, but Western so-called elites, right? And when it comes to this U.S. Ultimatum to Russia, as I said, all these talks about sanctions, tariffs, it's a nonsense. It's just a bluff. I think. And for example, on the very topic, we have this report that China and U.S. extend the tariff truce for another 3 months, right? The United States and China have extended their tariff truce for another 3 months following talks in Stockholm. And by the way, why would US extend this tariff truce if they are planning to impose 100% tariffs on China like in 10 days? Makes no sense, right? Makes no sense. Trump may talk tough, try at least, right? He might even threaten with, I don't know, 1,000,000% tariffs or everybody in this world. But when it comes to actual steps, I don't think US is in a position to blackmail China, India, Brazil, or other trade partners of Russia, or to impose 100 or 500% tariffs on them. That this will destroy US economy itself, right? So we should pay more attention, in my personal opinion, on potential military provocations that US and other NATO countries are planning together with their British proxy, right? And if there is any super chat during the stream, let me know and I will Oh, there is a super chat. Okay. Why not to highlight, by the way, super chat whenever, or maybe should I do it after a news segment, or which way is better? Okay, let's do it now. By the way, it will make these live streams more interactive, isn't it? And so, where is the? Okay, just a sec, dear friends. It would not take long. So let me highlight super chat, dear friends, from Rumble. So this is the super chat, right? Magwar Banger. Thank you very much for your super chat, $5 donation. Comment is with love from Welsh. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for your super chat and the kind words. And dear friends, let's continue. Let's continue with more news and where I was, by the way. And yes, Trump, by the way, is even though a 10-day of ultimatum did not yet expired, I guess Trump had in mind to impose some 25% tariffs on India, and he could not help himself but to say it right outright. Quite often he does make statements that gives you a feeling that, I mean, he should not say this. Probably this was not planned, and he just has a big mouth, right? And he talks lots. And so, yes, Trump said that U.S. intends to impose 25 tariffs on goods from India. And what about 100% tariffs? So the U.S. administration intends to impose 25% tariffs on goods imported from India. U.S. President Donald Trump told reporters on board of his plane on a route from Aberdeen to Washington, and even 25% tariffs, by the way, on India, I think is a kind of bluff. Because Trump well might destroy relationships with India by doing so, and I don't think this is gonna be, I don't think this is exactly what U.S. political class wants. They want India to be at least partial ally of U.S. Because globalists and the neocons want basically to sacrifice India at one point against China, while provoking potentially war between China and India, right? They want India against China. So, as I said, Trump has a big mouth, by the way, and maybe he's not really understand the importance of India, not just for this world, but I guess also in strategical plans that U.S. has itself, right? And that's why I think Indian leadership should be very careful in regards to U.S. In regards to collective West, because they want to sacrifice India. They want to sacrifice India. They want to use India against China. That's all. They never cared about India, right? Or Indian people. But yes, there is a threat that Trump wants 25%, and we should keep in mind that he is also on daily basis now threatening additional 100% tariffs on everybody who trades with Russia. TASS News Agency, meanwhile, is reporting that there is some tensions inside the Trump's administration, by the way, because there is a report that Pentagon chief may actually resign and run for a Tennessee governor. So U.S. Defense Secretary Pat Hegseth is considering the possibility of running for a Tennessee governor next year. So he will have to leave his post as a Pentagon chief, NBC News reported, citing sources. And you know what? This might actually happen. This might actually happen because I think Pat Hegseth, I guess, really believed that this administration was about America first. And he did find out hard way that Trump is Israeli slaughter, scum of humanity, and faking dirty pedophile, right? And I guess for Pat Hegseth, who is military, right? He is, ordinary guy with military experience, and I believe he loves his country, and he served his people, and he want to continue to do so, but he's not gonna get a chance to do it under such administration. I guess he is ashamed to serve under freaking pedophile that Trump is, right? So what should we say? So I'm surprised that Hexet is still in office. He was not really ready, anyways, for being the chief of Pentagon. I think his military background was not on that level, right? I'm upset that Tulsi Gabbard is still there. By the way, I mean, she made such a turn in his political career, and she's basically destroying her own reputation, right? By many steps she took recently, especially in terms of her attitude towards Israel and Israeli war crimes and crimes against humanity. Tulsi Gabbard is kind of justifying everything in this regard, which is a shame, right? And there are some other peoples, by the way, in Trump's administration that one might find it difficult to understand how they can still stay in this administration after everything that Trump did already. But, it's their business. Let's see what they're gonna do. But Pat Hexet, yes, he might leave, by the way, because maybe he was genuine when he was saying that he is America first. Maybe unlike Trump, he was actually genuine and wanted to serve American people, not some freaking Israel, fascist Israel, by the way, or neocons or whomever. I don't know. Взгляни Am I online? Ань, am I online again? Can you check? Yes. Oh, dear friends, my apologies, dear friends. You would not believe this, but in the beginning of the stream, my for whatever reason stopped working properly, and I dealt like 30 minutes with it, and now internet turned off, and I'm using phone internet. I mean, what a day, man! What a day today. My apologies, dear friends. I have never ever experienced so many technical issues during the one stream. What the hell? Is internet okay? Yeah. Then can you bring your phone closer so that Ань, should I continue? If quality is okay, then dear friends, I will continue and I will share whatever additional news I have left. Yet again, if quality is okay, unbelievable, man. Where is the screen? Okay, let's continue. If there is no issues with the buffering, then I will continue. I will continue as fast as I can, dear friends. At least I'll give you some headlines, and hopefully until tomorrow's live stream, I will manage to deal with this technical stuff. So yes, there was a report that NATO decided to increase pressure on Russia based on Bloomberg. But question is, what they gonna do, right? How many weapons they gonna send when the Kyiv regime's main issue is not the weapons, but actually manpower. That's what it is. I can see comment. Brian Henderson is commenting. You should use direct, link to router. Point is that internet is gone. By the way, I'm using Wi-Fi at this point. I'm using phone internet. My wife is sharing internet with me, but usually, Wi-Fi is doing okay. But today is that day when nothing works properly, right? But nevertheless, if there is no significant issues with buffering, if sound is good, video is good, then I will continue with news that I have prepared for this segment. So yes, this is just yet another empty threat, I guess, from NATO, because with the exception of nuclear weapons, by the way, there is nothing that NATO can bring to the battlefield that will really impact the situation. And let's hope there are enough sane people in the leadership of Collective West or NATO that they would never ever consider deploying nukes, because in that case, well, world is finished, right? RT is reporting exactly on the topic of nuclear weapons that the US likely moved nuclear arms to UK. This is yet another confirmation of this information, this time from Bloomberg. So the US has likely deployed nuclear weapons to Britain for the first time in over 15 years, since 2008, by the way, to be more precise. In a potential warning to Russia, Bloomberg reported on Monday, citing open source data and defense experts. I reported about this earlier, dear friends. There was earlier reports that US has deployed B6112 nuclear bombs in UK. Number of these nuclear weapons that were deployed is unknown, but well, we have this kind of interesting comment that former senior NATO arms control official William Alberque said leaving the aircraft transponder on, aircraft that was transferring these nuclear bombs to UK, leaving the aircraft transponder on was intentional and appeared to be aimed at sending a message to Moscow. This is a down payment that there is more to come on shifting NATO's deterrence posture towards strengthening. He said returning US nuclear weapons to UK is not no small feat. And well, yes, it was a message to Russia that they are deploying, US is deploying nuclear weapons to UK. But you think how Moscow gonna react on that? How Moscow gonna react on that? Obviously, a basis or base where these nuclear weapons are stored now are primary target for Russian missiles, potentially Russian nukes. If this makes citizens of UK happier, then okay, but I don't think so, right? I don't think so. And but again, if it comes to nuclear exchange, by the way, I don't know how stupid NATO leadership is, how stupid their political and military leadership is in the collective West, and they clearly are not intellectuals, isn't it? Just keep in mind what NATO general, or US NATO general Donahue, his surname is, isn't it, said just a couple of days ago when he threatened to obliterate the Kaliningrad region of the Russian Federation. With the military leadership like that, I mean, wow, anything to be expected, right, from the West. And so obviously Moscow is monitoring these developments, and some appropriate steps will be taken. It's working now. Okay. Seems like Wi-Fi internet is back. Should I change to Wi-Fi now? Goodness me, man. What a day. So, okay, I'm... Okay. Yeah. Да. Я в онлайне сейчас. Okay. Okay, let's continue, dear friends, with this report from Vzгляд newspaper that Romanian authorities comment on reports of sending troops to Ukraine. Romanian Interior Ministry has condemned the disinformation of a video or distribution of the video about the country's alleged entry into military action in Ukraine and called it a part of a manipulation campaign. Romanian Interior Ministry has issued a statement about it, and the point is that earlier some videos were circulating on internet, as if officials of Romania were stating that the country is engaged now openly in a war against Russia. Agency stressed that the video was created using artificial intelligence and is a part of a deliberate campaign to manipulate public opinion. Interior Ministry said the Romanian Prime Minister did not make such statements, and Romania is not entering the war. And it is anybody's guess now. Maybe there was some error on the part of Romanian leadership. Maybe they published some video prematurely. I don't know. At this point, anything can be expected. Or on other hand, we also know, dear friends, that AIs are doing quite realistic fake videos nowadays, right? Artificial intelligence become quite powerful in this regard, and maybe some pranksters or God knows whom, by the way, really published this video, and their society in Romania, obviously get confused and they're excited because it's a serious matter, isn't it? When Prime Minister of country is saying that we are entering the war, I don't think Romanian people, no matter how much they've been indoctrinated in Russia hate, I don't think they want to end up in direct open war with Russia. At least I hope so, right? So yes, that's the stuff that is happening, by the way, in Europe. RT is also reporting that EU roads are not ready for a war. So the EU's roads and railways are unprepared for war. The bloc's transport chief has warned in an interview with the Financial Times published on Tuesday. Commissioner Apostolos Tzitzikostas said the transportation infrastructure, including bridges, railways, and the tunnels, is incapable of moving tanks, troops, or military supplies in case of a conflict. European officials have long warned of a possible conflict with Russia and pushed for mobilization despite Moscow's denying it has any in the tunnels, collapsing bridges, and they're being delayed by border protocols, which is well, quite interesting. Really, whose fault is that Western military-industrial complex is building tanks that are heavier than bridges can withstand? Man, can they blame Russia for that too? Maybe they will. Maybe they will. But nevertheless, European citizens of European countries can sleep calmly. By the way, Russia has no plans, nothing whatsoever, to attack any European state, if not provoked, by the way. If provoked, that's a whole different story, isn't it? If US, okay, US is North America, right? If UK, for example, France, Germany, and others, after Trump's ultimatum will expire, will launch massive cyber attacks on Russian Federation, massive terrorist attacks on Russian Federation using their Ukrainian proxies. If they launch a massive, and when I say massive, I mean hundreds and potentially thousands of drones and missiles to strike deep into Russian territory, including on St. Petersburg and Moscow, then obviously we know that behind these attacks are these European NATO states, right? And I don't think Moscow will have much option but to take strong enough action to deter these countries from further escalating, right? But it again, if not provoke, I don't think anybody in Russian leadership or that many people in Russia itself, by the way, maybe 1% or 2%, but 98% most, I'm sure, never ever thinks about attacking Europe. What for, by the way? Why? Right? So Europeans can be, can come down, by the way. There is no Russian threat. It's their elites that are trying to threaten them with constant imaginable Russian threat. The Russians are coming, but we are not coming. RIA Novosti, by the way, is also reporting, and this is a big deal. I'm get confused a little bit, by the way. I get lost due to these freaking technical issues now, but nevertheless, I do have left quite a number of important news, and I will try to get focused. So big deal is happening in Kiev control territory, and there are more and more reports, by the way, that some serious changes in the leadership of this Western-backed terrorist regime is about to happen. And let's start with this report from RIA Novosti that Yermak, head of Zelensky's office, allegedly wants to tighten their screws against those who disagree with the regime. So by initiating recent measures against Ukraine's anti-corruption bodies and reshuffles in the country's government, Andrei Yermak, head of office of Vladimir Zelensky, is seeking to tighten the screws against those who disagree with the Kiev regime. Washington Post columnist and the writer David Ignatius states, citing Ukrainian sources, according to Ignatius, Zelensky made a tragic mistake by pushing through a law restricting anti-corruption bodies, NABU and SAP. It's a part of what Ukrainian insiders say is growing effort by Zelensky, top aide Andrei Yermak, to tighten the screws on dissenter in Kiev. It was the reason for the recent cabinet reshuffle. According to journalists, Yermak's desire to tighten control over dissidents also explains their ongoing criticism of their head of main intelligence directorate of Ukrainian Defense Ministry, Kirill Budanov. He is designated as terrorist, by the way, in Russian Federation, as well as other officials of Ukrainian intelligence services. And well, maybe this journalist from Washington Post has some point there, but what is also interesting that Ukrainian journalist, public figure, and a politician in exile, by the way, Anatoly Shary, shared quite interesting information about developments in Kiev, and let me give you some details on that. So, Ukrainian opposition journalist in exile Anatoly Shary report that Zelensky is preparing to dismiss none other than head of his office, very same Andrei Yermak that this Washington Post journalist was talking about. According to Shary, Yermak is making a last-ditch effort to salvage his standing, but Zelensky increasingly isolated. And maybe Shary has a point here. Maybe Zelensky really wants to get rid of Andrei Yermak too now because of this report, by the way, because of this report from Russian Foreign Intelligence Service that US and UK have found the replacement for Zelensky. And very interesting details in this report. So representatives of the United States and Great Britain held a meeting, secret meeting, by the way, in Alps with their high-ranking Ukrainian officials, where they discussed replacing Vladimir Zelensky. The press bureau of Russian Foreign Intelligence Service reported, we have a quote from this report, the prospects for replacing Vladimir Zelensky as a head of Kiev regime were discussed. Zelensky's replacement essentially become a key condition. Zelensky's replacement essentially become a key condition for resisting Kiev's relations with Western partners, for resetting Kiev's relations with the Western partners, primarily with Washington, and their continuing Western assistance to Ukraine in its confrontation with Russia. The secret meeting was attended by the head of Ukrainian presidential office, Andrei Yermak, the head of main intelligence directorate, Kirill Budanov, and their Kiev ambassador to London, Valery Zaluzhny, former head of Kiev regime's general staff. According to Russia's foreign intelligence service, their American and the British announced their desire to nominate the former commander-in-chief of Ukrainian armed forces, Zaluzhny, for the post of Ukrainian president. Yermak and Budanov agreed with this step. At the same time, they secured promises from the Anglo-Saxons to retain their current posts, as well as to take their interests into account when deciding other personnel issues. As noted by the SVR, Russian Foreign Intelligence Service, the agreement on Zelensky's replacement sheds light on the background of his attempt to limit the powers of Ukrainian anti-corruption structures. So, by the way, this is a big deal, isn't it? I don't think Russian Foreign Intelligence Service will made up the story like that. Obviously, this meeting had taken place in Alps. Obviously, U.S. British representatives had a meeting with Yermak, Budanov, and Zaluzhny, and I guess decision is made already to replace Zelensky. And if so, then I don't know. Countdown is on for this mass murderer and the terrorist Zelensky, right? Either he will run away from Ukraine in near future, in next couple of weeks, most likely towards Israel, or possibly, as Seymour Hersh, U.S. award-winning journalist, reported just a couple of weeks ago, military option will be implemented and Zelensky will be removed from office through coup d'etat. But in either case, Zelensky is gone, and most likely Zaluzhny is going to replace him. For people that are living on Kiev-controlled territory, this will change little, if anything at all. They're gonna be sacrificed anyways, maybe even in a high rate, once this replacement of Zelensky will take place. But in terms of relationships of Kiev regime and Washington and London, in terms of Zelensky's personality, this information is somewhat interesting. I will say, let's see what is going to happen. But I think he is gone. I think Zelensky is a done deal. RT is also reporting that EU, meanwhile, is also actively engaged in this operation against Zelensky to replace Zelensky. And we have this report that EU threatens Ukraine aid freeze. So Kiev is facing deeper cuts in EU financial support that it has publicly acknowledged. Ukrainian and German media have reported Brussels reportedly views Ukraine's crackdown on anti-corruption institutions as an attempt to shield an ally of Vladimir Zelensky. Last Friday, the European Commission said it would reduce support under the Ukraine Facility Program for 4.5 billion euros, $5.2 billion, installment to 3.05 billion euros or 0.5 billion or $3.5 billion, citing Kiev's failure to meet commitments on anti-corruption reforms. Now phone, man. Unbelievable. However, Ukrainskaya Pravda, propaganda outlet from Kiev regime, has reported that program has been de facto frozen alongside another mechanism, ERA loans, with a total of 60 billion at stake, $60 billion at stake. So yes, I mean, there is assault, clearly. There is assault on Zelensky, on his presidency, and yet again, he's gone. Only question is, will he run away now, or will he be removed from office by force? That's the only question I have personally at this point. RT, meanwhile, is reporting that Kremlin response to Trump's Ukraine deadline change. Probably many of you are interested how Moscow is reacting on these ultimatums from Trump, how Russian president is responding on that. And the president himself, Vladimir Putin, did not make no statements whatsoever. Understandably so, basically, because today Trump might say one thing, tomorrow another, day after something different, and you cannot comment everything, right? When you are president of another country, you are just too busy, really. But we have a comment from Dmitry Peskov, press spokesman of the Russian president, and so Russia has taken note of US President Donald Trump's decision to shorten the deadline for a peace deal in Ukraine and to issue new threats. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov has said, and that's it, by the way. Russia has taken note of US President Donald Trump's threats. That's all. You know, and this comment of Peskov, let's be real, I mean, quite telling, isn't it? That's, I mean, Peskov did not say it directly, but my interpretation of his statement is that, okay, I mean, we get that. And what now? I mean, and so what? You know? Okay, Trump is threatening now with 10-day ultimatum. And what you expect from us then? What should we do? Right? What you want from us? And dear friends, even in Western media outlets, I did notice kind of confusion in regards to this Trump's ultimatum, because even in the West, Western propaganda outlets, by the way, are questioning these steps from the Trump, because not all of them understood what Trump really wants. What has to happen in these 10 days? You know? Trump did not really specify much here. Only talks are that, well, ceasefire. It's 30-day ceasefire, right? Kellogg's initiative. That there should be 30-day ceasefire because they are desperate, by the way. Right? Western masters of Zelensky and this terrorist regime in Kiev, they're desperate. They need break for their proxies, right? But Russian side was very clear that Moscow will never agree on some temporary solutions like a temporary ceasefire, 30-day, 40-day, or whatever, because Moscow is interested in a fundamental resolution of the crisis, right? So that conflict will never again be provoked, right? Moscow is interested in a final resolution, which will require root causes of their crisis to be addressed, right? So therefore, what is the point from Trump issuing when Trump is issuing this 10-day ultimatum and demanding sort of a ceasefire that they know Moscow will reject. What is the point in that, right? So therefore, there is confusion in the West, confusion everywhere, I guess, in this world, and well, Moscow is just ready. Russia has taken note of U.S. president's threats and ultimatums, and that's about it. We all understand, by the way. I'm quite sure Russian leadership, Russian militaries, they know perfectly well after this ultimatum will expire, most likely NATO countries will go on full-scale offensive against Russia as much as they can. As I already mentioned, we should expect here in Russia largest ever cyber attacks on Russian infrastructure, Russian logistics. Russian companies should be ready for such developments. And also, same time, we should be ready for a tremendous increase, massive increase of long-range strikes deep into Russian territory, including towards Moscow and the northern capital, as St. Petersburg is known. And I guess there are some countermeasures in place, because this time, if my prediction is correct, and we will see unprecedented scale of escalation from the West, then I think Russian president will not really have much choice there to authorize retaliation, and on such a scale that will actually deter Western so-called elites or Western ruling class from further escalation, right? Because if you don't take retaliatory steps, then they're going to continue escalating, isn't it? Because they will not stop. So that's how it is. That's the Kremlin's reaction, by the way, that we have taken into account. And there was a super chat, dear friends. There was a donation on a PayPal. Liliana, thank you very much for your $47 donation. Truly appreciate your support. And also we have dear friends super chat, and let me for a sec highlight this super chat, dear friends. D Modus Qatar, thank you very much. Daniela, thank you very much for your support. Comment is thanks for your honest reporting. Thank you for your kind words and for your support. I appreciate that. Thank you. Truly grateful. And when it comes to PayPal, I'm afraid PayPal is a bit different. So I will always only say name, and if I have permission from a supporter, I will say full name. Otherwise, only name, as I do always. So thank you very much, dear friends, sir, for your donations, for your super chats, sir, for your kind words, sir. And let's continue. Let's continue with news, sir. Few more news left. For example, for whatever reason, dear friends, press spokesman of the Russian president, Dmitry Peskov, is still asked if there will be a meeting between Putin and Trump, despite everything that is happening, despite all these daily ultimatums from the Trump, daily threats, and so on. Some journalists during the briefings still are asking Peskov, is there any plans to organize meeting between Putin and Trump? And he is forced basically to answer time after time that no, there is no plans to organize a meeting between Putin and Trump. The possibility of the meeting between Russian President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump is currently not on the active agenda, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said in response to a question from their TASS. And yeah, friends, let's be real here. I don't think Putin and Trump will ever met. In first few months, by the way, before Trump began acting extremely responsibly towards Russia, extremely aggressively, and before Trump ended up in this Epstein scandal, by the way, I was thinking that there is a possibility that Russian president may actually find time to meet with Trump. But now, after all the insults from the Trump towards Russia, towards Russian people, by the way, I remind you that at one point Trump said that Russia is launching missiles on towards Kiev-controlled territory, these long-range precise strikes for no reason. And he said that day after Kiev regime strikes killed so many Russian civilians, right? There was a tremendous attack on Russian civilian infrastructure. He said this day after Russian civilians were killed, and Russian side was retaliating for this attack. And so by saying that Russia is conducting these launches for no reason, Trump undermined the lives of Russian citizens, right? I mean, this is a level of insult that, there is nothing left, right? When you are saying that Russian lives or lives of Russians mean nothing, and you are conducting operations for no reason, then after this, you barely can go any lower than that, right? And if just because Russian president is very diplomatic in his statements, he is not using language like I do, by the way, because I'm a blogger, I'm a citizen journalist, I don't give a damn. I can say some stuff, right? Some might like it, some might don't, but I say what I think, right? That was a deal from the beginning, by the way. I'm going to be real, right? I'm not a diplomat. I'm not a public figure. I'm just a citizen journalist with a small channel, and that's about it, right? But Russian president, whole different story. Russian politicians and diplomats, right? They're public figures. And just because they are very diplomatic does not mean that either Russian president or Russian foreign minister did not, pay attention to these horrible statements that Trump made about Russian lives, right? So after that, and nothing to be said about direct insults from the Trump towards Putin. I don't think Putin really cares about insults from the Trump or anybody else from the collective West, because he's not going to be insulted, right? You might only people can actually insult me is people that I care about, people that opinion of whom is important to me and relevant. And if I did something wrong and I made them mad, they can yes say some stuff to me, and I will I will care about it. But other people that I don't know, man, and I have nothing to do with, and I don't know their opinions, or especially people that already demonstrated that they have no moral and principle, why would I care about their opinions, right? So it's the same with everybody, isn't it? You are the same, everybody is the same, right? So Putin is same too. So I don't think he was insulted by Trump's name calling. He called him a crazy and this and that. But nevertheless, because of his statements about Russian lives, indirect statements about Russian lives, and after after his behavior in regards to Trump's, in regards to Epstein's whole this story, by the way, and after all, Musk said that he's on Epstein files, right? And I think Musk has a files, by the way. I really think, I don't know how, but Musk, I believe, has a files and knows perfectly well who is on that Epstein list. I should keep in mind, he's the richest man in this world, by the way. I would not be surprised at all if CIA staff, by the way, made the copies and just sell it to Musk, right? So I don't think he was joking around while saying that Trump is on Epstein list. And after that statement, by the way, I mean, I find it tremendously impossible. I personally find it impossible to have any respect for anybody who is engaged in such a criminal activity as all that Epstein story is, right? So therefore, I don't think Putin will meet with Trump. It's just as he is a statesman, and he has to do what he has to do because he have to look after state. I mean, lives of 145, 48 million people are, lays on his shoulders. By the way, he's responsible for safety of everybody, right? He is the president, and he has to do what he has to do. But I think, even if Washington will really ask for meeting with Putin, I think Putin should say no, and probably he will say no, because no, man, Trump is finished. Trump is finished, and if America First people in U.S. really want to normalize relationships with Russia, they should remove Trump as soon as possible and put J.D. Vance into presidential office. With J.D. Vance, one might talk. Hopefully, he is not on the Epstein list, by the way. No one even hinted that J.D. Vance might be engaged in some tremendous criminal activity. So therefore, with J.D. Vance, yes, some talks might take place, but not with Trump. Not with Trump, by the way. It's just you cannot ask Russian president to shake hand with Trump, by the way, with that element that allegedly, according to Elon Musk, is on Epstein files. Right? So no matter how many times journalists gonna ask Peskov about potential Putin-Trump meeting, this meeting will never happen, and at least my hope is that this meeting will never happen. Putin don't have to shake hand with that element. That's how it is, man. That's my take. TASS news agency is reporting that UK may be surprised. British leadership may be surprised some people worldwide, because UK is about to recognize state of Palestine. Statement was made by Keir Starmer, and on upcoming September General Assembly of UN, France and UK will recognize a statehood of Palestine, and a number of other countries too, by the way. And I reported earlier that French elites become under heavy pressure from Israeli lobby, from Zionists, and so on. And same is going to happen with the British leadership. I don't know what forced Starmer, maybe internal pressure, by the way. I mean, maybe internal pressure from the society was on such a level that it was suicidal for Labour Party and for Keir Starmer, politically suicidal, to ignore the developments in the Gaza Strip. And maybe that is the reason why UK is following France's steps, and also planning to recognize statehood of Palestine. Maybe this topic was discussed during Emmanuel Macron's relatively recent visit to France. But whatever the case, by the way, when something positive is happening, we should acknowledge this, right? And when credit is deserved, then credit should be given. So, well done. No matter how much I dislike leadership of France and UK, but in this particular case, I have to say, well done. If they will actually go ahead and acknowledge, recognize statehood of Palestine, and if they will stop any assistance of Israel that is committing genocide of Palestinian people, in that case, credit definitely deserved and should given to London and Paris. I remind you, dear friends, that Russia has recognized, Moscow has recognized statehood of Palestine in mid-80s, last century, as dozens and dozens of other countries did, of course. Vzglyad newspaper is also reporting that, and this is a big deal, by the way, allegedly hackers stole data on France's combat systems and nuclear weapons. So the French Navy faces a national security threat after hackers gained access to source code for the combat systems and information on the naval group's nuclear weapons. The hack, which became the largest in the history of France, occurred in relation to their defense company naval group. Komsomolskaya Pravda reports, Russian newspaper, hackers said that they gained access to secret data on combat systems, nuclear weapons, and other materials related to warships and submarines of the French Navy. Among their stolen information, they named their source code for the combat systems, software for the nuclear weapons, documents on Rafale fighters, network data, and their internal correspondence. According to attackers, they have at least 30 gigabytes of data, of which 13 gigabytes have already been posted online. The hackers demand a response from Naval Group within 72 hours, threatening to publish more data. Cybercrime expert Clement Domingo confirmed that most of the files had indeed become available on internet, and the Naval Group itself acknowledged that there was a leak and filed complaint with the prosecutor's office. The incident is particularly alarming given France's status as in one of 9 countries in the world that possess nuclear weapons, many of which are deployed on submarines. The publication of classified materials could affect not only the reputation of the company and its security agencies, but also the country's strategic security. And this is a big deal, by the way. I mean, this is a big deal. Hackers gain access to source code of software that is used in all sorts of weapon systems, including in nuclear field. Wow, that's quite something, isn't it? And wow. I wonder if France gonna blame Russian hackers or Russia for this. They might, I don't know. But news is important, isn't it? News is important, and once again highlights how dangerous these times are, when hackers might actually do some tremendous damage to national security of the countries, right? And maybe even endanger whole of humanity. In this particular case, talk is about nuclear weapons, by the way, so it cannot get any more serious than that, right? RIA Novosti, meanwhile, is reporting that Kisilyov calls for release of arrested Sputnik Azerbaijan journalist Dmitry Kisilyov, CEO of the media group Russia Today, in a commentary to RIA Novosti, called on Baku to release their groundlessly arrested Sputnik Azerbaijan journalists. Those who consciously took this step understood perfectly well that in the absence of any objective claims to the work of journalists, it would inevitably lead to a complication of interstate relations between Russia and Azerbaijan. Now it seems we can calmly release Igor Kartovich and Evgeny Belousov from captivity and thus take a noticeable step towards restoring relations between our countries. I also agree that movement towards this restoration is necessary on both sides, Kisilyov said. And I don't think Baku is on the same page. Azerbaijan leadership has no permission, I think, either from London or from Ankara to de-escalate with Russia. After all this escalatory ladder is just a part of a bigger campaign, anti-Russian campaign, isn't it? That UK and Turkey and Israel are engaged in, or collective West, one may say. So therefore, I can understand Kisilyov's call. He's making right statements, understandable statements, logical statements, but unfortunately, I don't think Baku will release Russian journalists or journalists of the Sputnik Azerbaijan. I don't think Azerbaijan will de-escalate, because I said there quite some time ago, by the way, that point of no return has been crossed by Azerbaijani leadership, and nothing can be done about it now. Until Aliyev is in charge of Azerbaijan, relationships between Russia and this former Soviet Republic will be bad, or tremendously bad. But I see no potential for improvements of the relationships or restoration of the relationships while Aliyev is in power there. It's just not happening. So unfortunately, I mean, this is the reality that we have to face, and this is the reality, once again, that was created with active involvement. This negative situation was created with active involvement of foreign actors, right? In this particular case, first of all, London, and then Turkey, by the way. And one should keep in mind that Ankara, British elites, Turkish elites, by the way, Turkish political class, historically is tied with British aristocracy, with London, right? And that's why Turkey was acting in many areas worldwide on behalf of London. Not openly, but covertly. And same is happening now in Southern Caucasus region, and the same was done and continues to happen in Central Asia, where Turkey is engaged in all sorts of anti-Russian and anti-Chinese operations on behalf of collective West, on behalf of globalists. And when it comes to globalists, main driving force there is British aristocracy, right? It is what it is. RT is also reporting that South Africa is ready for US sanctions. According to local politicians, South Africa is ready for sanctions being considered by the United States against Pretoria over its foreign policy. Mike Mabuakulu, a senior leader of the African National Congress in KwaZulu-Natal, has stated, when we decided to take Israel to International Court of Justice, we knew what was going to follow, that friends of the Israel apartheid state would isolate us, and that is what is happening now. Yes, sir, we will suffer and the consequences, but we are prepared because we are standing up for a juster cause. Mabuakulu told their gathering in Durban on Monday evening, and well, I have to disagree with the South African politician. I don't think South Africa is being isolated, by the way. They are actually standing for a just cause, 100%. And South Africa is not isolated, and will never be isolated, no matter how much US or Israel or others gonna dream about it, right? South Africa is a leading member of the BRICS organization, very important country, not just on African continent, but on a global scale. And South Africa has friends. South Africa has friends that will stand with South Africa, no matter what Washington or other Western capitals would like to see. But when it comes to relationships between South Africa and US, yes, unfortunately, those relationships are deteriorating quite rapidly for a number of reasons, and one of the reasons being South Africa's lawsuit against charge, basically, against Israel, right? So, yes, South Africa is not alone, by the way, 100%. RIA Novosti is also reporting that White House, meanwhile, continues, and US politicians, by the way, continue to brag about bringing Brussels to its knees, right? And maybe they have a reason to act this way. I don't know. But we have this report now that the new trade agreement between the United States and the European Union means Europe's subordination to the policies of the US President Donald Trump, said Sebastian Gorka, senior director for the counterterrorism at the White House National Security Council. Why senior director for counterterrorism is talking about Washington-Brussels relationships? I have no clue, dear friends, but nevertheless, he's a high-ranking official there, isn't it? And the media did pay attention to his statements. We have quote from him, and today's deal, even for someone like me who has known the president for 10 years, is astonishing. It's hard to believe that the entire European Union has bowed to America First doctrine and said, okay, we are not going to be freeloaders anymore. Gorka told her Newsmax, and okay, by the way, I don't even know how to comment this. European politicians, acting politicians, by the way, and even high-ranking officials already said that they are extremely disappointed with this agreement. French Prime Minister said it openly. German officials are saying it openly. Spain is not happy. That no one is happy in Europe with this deal, by the way. Right? No one is happy. But yet again, that's the cost. That's the price, by the way. Globalists and globalist control regimes in Europe wanted US to be engaged in this proxy war against Russia as much as possible, and US agreed to be engaged in this proxy war against Russia, and the price is price is that deal that brings Brussels to its knees before Washington and the whole of Europe, basically. It is what it is, right? Obviously, with US or without, but globalists not gonna turn the tide in this proxy war that they provoke against Russia. But nevertheless, they wanted US. They wanted to keep US in, and they did it, right? US is in this war. Although during his first month or two in office and before inauguration, during the election campaign, Trump was loving to say that this war is not his war; it's Biden's war, and some hope was even generated in the public worldwide that maybe US administration will actually focus on US, on America first strategy and ideology, and pull out US from this proxy war. But this hope was a mistake, and we all understand that now. Dutch news agency is also reporting that China and US, as already mentioned, dear friends, earlier in this program, China and US has extended the tariff truce for another 3 months. And as I already said, Trump is considering to impose 25% tariffs on all goods from India. I don't know who is behind this tariff war or sanctions war. I don't think this is purely Trump's ideas, but they are clearly creating some significant issues for the US, by the way, in the long run. That's for sure. A few more news, dear friends. RIA Novosti is reporting that Brent crude rose above $72 for the first time since June 23rd. Okay, $72, not bad, but potentially it will rise even more. And I'm sharing price on the Brent because according to, as far as I know, Russian Urals oil price is somewhat related with the Brent oil price, right? So if Brent price goes up, Russian Urals oil price is going up also. And $72, not bad, by the way. Russian Urals might cost $5 less, maybe $7 less, but still not bad. All right, and also, dear friends, I will end this news segment on this news that Russian and US space chiefs to hold the first face-to-face talks in 8 years. Roscosmos chief Dmitry Bakanov has arrived in Houston to meet acting NASA administrator Sean Duffy for what will be the first in-person talks between US and Russian space agency leaders in 8 years. In a statement on Tuesday, the Russian space agency said their officials are expected to discuss the future of the International Space Station, including both their extension of its operational life, and their eventual safe deorbiting and their disposal in their designated ocean area. According to Bakanov, a plan has already been developed, and the entire process is expected to take approximately 2.5 years. And well, I mean, what can I say? It is good, something good, by the way, something good. At least Roscosmos and NASA are not treating each other hostile. Okay, I don't think we should expect some increasing cooperation between U.S. and Russian space agencies, but at least they talk. At least they talk, and I think they are more constructive in their dialogue than U.S. administration is in regards to their Russian counterparts. Nevertheless, something of positive. And when it comes to ICC, well, I guess International Space Station served its purpose, and well, maybe it is time to retire. And in next 2.5 years, it will be deorbited and will end up on the ocean floor in the Pacifics. And dear friends, that's it for news segment. Hopefully you will find this, and you did find this news segment interesting, despite all these technical issues, by the way, that I was facing during the stream. First delay, and then internet cut. I mean, what the hell, man? But things happen. Things, when you are working online, when you don't really have our best possible equipment, or even more or less okay level of equipment, things happen even more often, right? But it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Hopefully you did find this update informative and useful. And let's have a little chat, by the way. Now I will join your conversation. I will join community chat. As always, if I see capital Q or capital letters before the question, I will react on it once I spot it. And so let's see. My apologies, dear friends, if time to time I was a bit emotional. I know some members of our community actually like this. When I go off rails with rants, it might look funny from the side. I don't know, but I don't like when I'm getting emotional, really. But nevertheless, by the way, let's have a little chat now. Dylan Thomas is commenting or asking, can the Oreshnik be fired from submarines? If so, why does not Russia take out their Pentagon, Langley, Virginia, and their GCHQ in UK, also Ramstein in Germany? Oreshnik cannot be fired from submarines, dear friends. As far as I know, this is relatively new weapon system that is ground-based. And when it comes to taking out Pentagon and Langley and GCHQ and Ramstein and other potential targets, well, Russia has other means to do this, right? And let's hope it will never come to it. Let's hope, for sake of humanity, that it will never come to it, because that will mean if Russia has fired missiles, by the way, with nuclear warheads, towards targets that you mentioned, Dylan, or towards other strategical targets, that means nuclear war, right? And I don't believe in a limited nuclear war. If nukes being fired, if nukes being exchanged between Russia and US, between Russia and NATO, maybe someone would think initially that, well, it will be just a limited exchange of 10, 20, couple of dozens of nukes, and then the escalation will happen. But no, once nukes are fired, then that's it, I guess. That's it. That is a point of no return. After that, it's the end of humanity. So let's hope, for sake of humanity, that neither NATO countries, US, France, UK, will fire their nukes towards Russia, and let's hope Russia will also never fire its nuclear warheads towards NATO countries. By the way, we don't need that. We need the escalation, right? And all it takes, by the way, to achieve the escalation is if globalists or ruling elites in the West will realize that, Russia actually has its own national interests, right? And we actually pushed just too much, really. So much so that, Russia is in an opposition now to compromise. We just push too much. Once Western ruling class will realize that, maybe they will see options, right? That it's them that have to de-escalate, right? It was the collective West, right? That was pushing towards escalation with Russia constantly since the collapse of Soviet Union, by the way, right? And they actually pushed so much so that at some point, well, they went as far as to get engaged in a proxy war against Russia. So, do they want to go any further than that and risk with a full-scale nuclear exchange? I don't know. Maybe they want that. Maybe they are suicidal or something. But if they not, then they should de-escalate, because I don't think Russia can really tolerate any more hostility from the West. I mean, it's already too much, by the way, and I guess everybody worldwide is surprised big time with the restraint and the patience that Russia is showcasing, right, during this confrontation with the West, right, during this proxy war that West is waging against us. So, answer is in case of Oreshnik, no, it's not a naval missile; it's a ground-based missile. And when it comes to target that you said, let's hope it will not come to it. Dylan Thomas is commenting, subs can launch Sarmat, and they are huge. Dylan, I'm not even sure that Sarmat missiles can be launched from the submarines. I think Sarmat is also ground base. Right now, on submarines, or maybe I'm mistaken. I'm not a rocket scientist, isn't it? But I think there is a Bulava, right? Sineva and the Bulava missiles that are deployed to Russian nuclear submarines. And Sarmat missile, Sarmat 2, or Satan 2 missile, by the way, as it designated by NATO, is, I believe, ground-based. And it's huge, by the way. It's massive. So, because of its size, I don't think it's naval-based. Although, I might be wrong on that. I don't know. Don Zugar is asking, Levan, do you think Russia will bomb England? It depends, Don. It depends if after Trump's ultimatum expires, if US, UK, France, Germany, and others will escalate tremendously. I mean, if they go ahead with their massive cyber attacks on Russian infrastructure, if they go ahead with their massive increase in the long-range strikes with the drones and the missiles, when thousands of drones are launched and there are dozens or hundreds, maybe, missiles to strike deep into Russia, maybe towards St. Petersburg and Moscow. In that case, what do you think Moscow will do? I mean, how would you react if you were Russian president? I think in case of such a level of escalation, I think Russia will strike back on military infrastructure of US, on military infrastructure of UK, France, Germany, maybe others. I think, yes, in that case, Russia will respond with their retaliatory strike with the conventional weapons, by the way, with the conventional weapons, right? With Oreshnik, maybe, for example. But there are some other options too there. Well, when it comes to British military assets, by the way, it may not be necessary to take out some British military asset necessarily in British Island, right? There is I believe all the majority of the operations that UK is engaged in, from intelligence standpoint and so on, is conducted from Cyprus, where UK has a massive, biggest military base, right? At least outside of UK. And I think if it comes to Russian retaliation, Russian militaries probably will consider to neutralize that military base on Cyprus as a possibility. Although, who knows, man, maybe there are certain targets that needs to be neutralized on the territory of the UK too, on the ground of that island there. Anything is possible, but everyone should keep in mind, whatever is going to happen, our responsibilities lies on Western elites. Russia did not started this war. Russia did not wanted this war, but Russia will finish it, right? That's how it is. And if we will have no option but to retaliate on British soil, we will do it, right? But the locals should know that we were forced to do. We were retaliating. And if they want to blame anybody for that, let them ask questions to their elites, right? But yes, there is such possibility, by the way. At this point, situation is so bad that I think there is scenarios in which I can see Russian retaliatory strike on military assets, military and intelligence assets of US, UK, France, Germany, and others. So yeah, answer is yes. Don Zugar is commenting, Levan, I contribute as a Patreon member, but can't contribute on a Boosty, PayPal, or Rumble because I have no cell phone. Can you think of a way to contribute without a cell phone? I mean, why you need their cell phone on a Boosty though? You can open Boosty with their PC. I don't think I understand the question, Don Zugar, and I'm grateful that you are our Patreon community member, but I'm not sure I did understand the question itself. I mean, you can all these platforms you can use with the phone and you can use with their PC, as I do, by the way. I use all these platforms sometimes with the phone. Sometimes with the PC. I don't have issues with that, but maybe I did not understand your question correctly. Sorry for that. Anyways, many thanks for being supporter for being a Patreon of the project. On. Thank you. Oh, dear friends, I did not like this. Daniela was upset with your comment, Don. Please, dear friends, we are a most friendly community, isn't it, on internet? We are most, maybe tiny, but most friendly community on internet. So please, dear friends, we might have very different opinions, but and we might never agree on anything, and it's okay, it's fine, right? We are here because we want to know more and know better, right? So please, even if we are engaged in some whole discussion, let's be respectful towards each other. By the way, politicians don't worth to fight for them, right? Or their policies. We might be on very different positions in regards to any developments in this world, but let's be very respectful towards each other, please. And let's be extremely respectful, especially respectful towards females, as it should be case always, everywhere, right? Please, dear friends, I mean, we cannot upset each other. Life is already is crazy enough, right? We are living in these crazy times. We don't need any additional stress or no in this chat, please. Dylan Thomas is commenting, I'd love to donate to Levan, but 5 minutes later, my front door would be taken off by secret police in Balaklava, sir. I'd be disappeared. I don't think so, Dylan. You may be dramatizing too much. No one gonna, I mean, it's, no, man, it's just, I know people get scared, people get scared. Not all people, but some people, and might have a wrong impression. I'm not being sanctioned, by the way, me personally, right? And if you donate to PayPal, for example, you are donating to my wife's PayPal, right? It's not even my PayPal, it's my wife's PayPal, right? Or when it comes to Patreon or Boosty platforms, it's a Patreon and the Boosty platforms. You're donating on a platform to a creator, right? You don't send nothing directly to Russia, and even if you do, by the way, I'm not personally, I'm not being sanctioned, right? Either by EU or by US. So it's so don't worry about it. You're not gonna do not donate. I mean, you have your fears, and you may have some reasons to be fearful. So it's your business, absolutely, of course. But I don't think anybody gonna have any issues whatsoever if they are donating to the media project that is not being sanctioned, and that does nothing bad, right? So let's see more questions. As always, dear friends, capital Q and capital letters will make it easier to spot the question. I missed something. Left sider Q is asking, why does Putin still have good relationships with Netanyahu? Does he have a good relationship, sir? I don't know, dear friend. I would be surprised if he does. After what Netanyahu and his regime did, I don't think Putin has the same attitude towards Netanyahu than before. Yes, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, they had quite good working relationships, maybe even personal relationships on some levels. But now, after everything that was done by Netanyahu, I think Putin will struggle to, have a positive attitude towards the Netanyahu's personality. I mean, but yet again, when you are a statesman, right? When you are president, high-ranking official, sometimes you have to talk to people that you despise, maybe, right? You don't want to talk to them, but you are official, right? You don't really have a choice. You have to do your job, or you have to go then, right? And so therefore, Putin just has to have a talks with the people like Netanyahu. But I don't think he's very happy about it. I don't think, you know what? Let me say it this way. I want to believe that Putin has a strong enough moral stance and the principles that even if sometime in the past he had a positive attitude towards Netanyahu, this is no longer the case because of the crimes against humanity that Netanyahu has committed. I hope that's how it is, man. I want Russian leaders to have a strong moral stance and the principles. That is important. But if you think they have good relationships, I don't know. If they actually have good relationships, if Putin considers Netanyahu a friend, that's too bad, man. What can I say? That's just too bad. But I don't think Putin considers Netanyahu a friend now after what Netanyahu has done. I hope I'm correct. I'm scrolling there, friends, now in yes, I mean, Smokey Sally is commenting that Russia has nuclear torpedoes. Yes, nuclear torpedoes are a thing for quite a while, but maybe you are referring, Sally, to Poseidon submersible, which is not quite a torpedo. It's basically autonomous vehicle, underwater submersible vehicle with a warhead of allegedly 100 megatons. So biggest nuclear explosion that ever was biggest man-made explosion on the planet was 57 megatons, right? 57, 58 megatons. Soviet thermonuclear weapon that was detonated in Novaya Zemlya test site, and shockwave, by the way, 3 times moved around the Earth. That's how powerful explosion was, right? And allegedly, this Russian Poseidon autonomous submersibles have 100 megaton power. And what they do is, you just move the submersible close to coastal line of their hostile state that you intend to attack, then detonate. And can you imagine on the shallow waters and close to coastal lines, waters usually are like 50 meters, 100 meters, 200 meters, 300 meters, but no bigger than that, right? Depth, not far away from the coast. And so you move this submersible close to coastal line and then detonate. and tsunami is created as a result of this tremendous explosion in shallow, relatively shallow waters. I mean, 200-300 meters is nothing, right, for such a tremendous explosion, and it will move a huge mass of water towards the coast, right? It will create a massive radioactive tsunami that will, decimate portal infrastructure, military base or naval base, or whatever you are targeting. It will be gone, finished, right? If you detonate Poseidon on a Mariana Trench on a depth of like it's how deep is Mariana Trench? 9 kilometers, something like that, isn't it? Then detonation of Poseidon in such a depth will not really do much because of the tremendous pressure of the water, but in shallow waters, in 200-300 meter depth, it will do some tremendous stuff. And coastal lines usually are 200-400 meters, isn't it? Barely like kilometers straight away. You just walk from the beach to a sea like 10 meters, and but there is a kilometer depth. It's not happening like that. So yes, I mean it's a devastating weapon system for sure, these Poseidons. Yes, I mean Alexander G is commenting on a topic that I just discussed a minute ago. That I mean he uses Boosty with a notebook, it's from laptop, and that's how I do also. I mean I never had no issues, so that's why I was a bit confused with the question that. Dear friends, it's more than 2 hours now, sir. And after this relatively stressful stream, yet again due to this technical issues, if I may, I will end this program now. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to all for your attention and support, for staying on the stream, dear friends, despite me being absent in the beginning for 30 minutes due to this technical issue, and then in the middle of the stream for I don't know how long it took before I shifted to a phone internet. But you stay here on the stream, and I'm grateful for your support and attention. Have a wonderful day, dear friends. Have a wonderful day, and take care. See you soon. Oh, come on now. Don Zugar is commenting. I just see this right before I was planning to end the stream. Levan is rude. He is avoiding my question. He is avoiding the whole cell phone issue for the whatever reason. What cell phone issue? Ань, на Бусти же либо ты используешь в телефоне этот номер, или используешь mail там, или whatever account. So, Don Zugar, it's like you don't have to use your cell phone necessarily. You can use your existing YouTube account, for example. That's how I do. Boosting never demanded a cell phone from me, right? You might have an option that you can register, or you can create account or enter the service platform with either existing account on Google or YouTube or I don't know, this or that platform, or you can use your cell phone. It's a platform gives you options, which one you want. You don't have to use all options, right? So that's why I get a little confused with your questions. And I'm not being rude, though. Sorry if I left such an impression, but you if it's not convenient, it's just not convenient for you, this boosty platform, and that's okay, isn't it? Unfortunate. That's unfortunate, and boosty should work about being more convenient for people, for uh, users of the platform, and hopefully they will work on it. I mean, I don't even know what to tell you. I don't know. Okay, dear friends, let's end now, isn't it? Let me also thank her, Bonzo Beans, on Rumble, our moderator. Thank you, John, for helping me. And once again, dear friends, have a wonderful day, and take care. Bye for now.